Hello and welcome to France 24's Euro 2020 show. Italy are champions of Europe. The Azzurri beat England on penalties in a breathless shootout after a 1-1 draw. 120 minutes of high-octane drama at Wembley. These, the pictures from Italy, from Rome, where the supporters are celebrating a second European title for the Azzurri after their first one all the way back in 1968. James Messina and Ruben Slagter join me now for all the post-match analysis and also to summarise the tournament. But these, the images coming to us from Italy, soak in the atmosphere. This is what it feels like to win a European Championship almost against all odds. A hard-fought match with the quickest goal of a European final. Manchester United's Luke Shaw scoring in the second minute of the game after Kieran Trippier's superb cross. No other goals until the break. Italy then equalised through veteran Leonardo Bonucci after England failed to clear the ball. And then it went all the way to the penalty shootout where Roberto Mancini's side triumphed 3-2 on penalties. Ruben Slagter, Italy, the worthy winners in the end of this tournament.
Yes. Well, we're still in our emotions after this crazy match, but if you look at the whole tournament, I think they deserve it the most. So yeah, they're the best. They were the best team tonight. It was equal. I thought Italy was a little bit better, but yeah, that penalty shootout was that crazy that I even forgot a little bit about the match, to be honest. But yeah, it's altogether, I think that they deserve to win the cup.
James, obviously a very disappointed James, but Italy triumphed in the penalty shootout. England dominated the first half, failed to get that second goal, which would have been the cushion, and Italy, after half-time, probably dominated.
Yeah, they did. Unfortunately, I think England are going to be biting themselves after really that first half where they could have slotted more in, really. They had the opportunities and they started the game, as we said, 2 minutes in, with that goal from Luke Shaw. And they could have really pushed things much further. They were dominating in that first half. Italy came back after that, and as Ruben's saying, deservedly, I think both sides were worthy of a win tonight. Towards the end of the game, I'd say, both England needed that penalty shootout. They were under threat. It was better for them to get to this. I think they had a higher chance because Italy were looking pretty scary at that point. But it's going to be a very difficult time. I mean, obviously, we've seen what Wembley was like. We've heard what it was like, and we can only imagine right now for all English fans, in England in particular, that it's going to be a very tough night.
Well, speaking of Wembley, let us go to Wembley to cross over to France 24's Hervé Aymeric, who is in the temple of English football. Hervé, football is not coming home, not this time. England so close. I imagine the disappointment there is too hard to take.
Football is going to Rome indeed, and you can see behind me, dignified, a walk in silence out of the stadiums. Tens of thousands of English fans who dare to dream after 55 years. They were very close to getting the trophy back home, but it won't be this time round. Now, certainly, Gareth Southgate's team has been magnificent throughout this tournament. They're allowed to unify a country that has been hit hard by the pandemic, and certainly this is a day that people will remember. There was a very strong build-up throughout the week. It was a very long game. It was excruciating in the last final minutes, while England had started so well, scoring in 2 minutes from the start of the game and not allowing Italy to make their game. They stole the game, but eventually the Italians showed what they have. They showed they were the form team of the tournament, and they came back with a vengeance. I have with me two fans who came all the way from the Midlands to see this game, and of course, Paul, disappointment.
Well, it's not disappointing, like you say. After 55 years, it's nice to get into the final and that. It's a shame we lost. Hopefully, we'll get another chance in 2 years' time.
In 2 years' time for the World Cup.
Mate, like I say, it's been a brilliant day. I'm glad I come here. It's good atmosphere. probably a lot of hurt English fans and that, but you know, we'll get over it and hopefully come back stronger next time.
Something tells me that Gareth Southgate has united the country today. We talked a lot about Brexit, we talked about the pandemic, but this is good to bring people together, isn't it?
100%, yeah. This has brought a lot of people together. It's actually nice to see so many people out enjoying themselves. Although we've lost, there's a lot of quiet fans. We're still happy that we got to the final. You know what I mean? We're still happy that we got here.
You still made history after 55 years.
After 55 years, first time in my life I've ever experienced something like this. You know what I mean? I'm 43, and it's nice to get to this stage in the UEFA and whatever. It's just nice to get there, and hopefully, like I say, next 2 years in the World Cup, hopefully we'll get there again. You know.
Thank you very much, Paul. Something tell me that we will not have heard for the last time of this team of Gareth Southgate, and that football will eventually come home.
Hervé Amorik at Wembley. Thank you very much for that analysis, and commiserations to Paul and, of course, to the entire English fans. We spoke a lot ahead of the game about the two managers, the tactical battle that there was going to be between Gareth Southgate and Roberto Mancini. It seemed that for a large part of the game, Gareth Southgate had the upper hand, but I think both of you have got a lot to say on the penalty shootout and the choices of England's penalty takers. James, what do you think about the choice of Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, 18, 19 years old, to take that kick? Bizarre.
Yeah, really strange. I think we were all surprised seeing two players who basically came on for the penalties. I think Rashford, the most exercise he had tonight was that run up that he did before taking his, and clearly they weren't in the game because they hadn't played, and it's a lot of pressure for those three very, very young players. Saka in particular, it's a worry for him. I'm sure he'll be fine, but he's been exceptional throughout the tournament, and everyone. I mean, it was great to see him tonight. To be honest, I wasn't sure whether he was going to come on even tonight because, he's young, it's all new to him, obviously tired physically, but also mentally. To be the last one to take that decisive penalty almost decisive penalty. That must drain psychologically. I'm sure he'll get over it, but it's a very strange decision to take.
So does the fault lie with Southgate, Ruben? Is that a big error of managerial talent?
Yes, it is a big error, but we don't know what happened. I was also really surprised that there weren't any experienced players who just stood up. Okay, we know that the English team is not full of experienced players, but someone like Bonucci, that he takes a penalty. He's maybe not even the best penalty taker, but he can cope with this pressure. Harry Maguire, when he came on, we were like, well, he will probably miss. Fantastic penalty, just because how they are in the game. It's also that, maybe that Southgate was so convinced that both Sancho and Rashford would score. It's also quite harsh on him, because you already said for a good part of the match, especially the first half, his tactical plan was really, really good, quite perfect, I would say. But yeah, he just, especially like asking Saka to take the last penalty, that's really strange for me.
Bukayo Saka, especially, absolutely distraught after the penalty shootout, because Jordan Pickford, actually very criticised goalkeeper, and yet 2 penalty saves. He played his part in England's success.
Yeah, and rightly so. If England wins the tournament, then everybody is like Pickford, goalkeeper of the tournament, stopping 2 penalties, and he did really well in that shootout as well. So yeah, you also feel a little bit harsh for him. But yeah, it's sad for everyone. I mean, you don't want a kid of 19 years old to miss the final penalty and to be him like the loser of the night, because he will be. But yeah, I really hope that he will step over it, because he's a fantastic player, and that, we won't remember this, but remember, like the fan said, I'm quite impressed how positive he still was, that there was a real unified team. And England, it was 50% the penalties, and they lost, but they're second of Europe. That's still impressive.
Well, before we talk a little bit more